Does it say, oh my, going blind, 359?
I'm sorry? Oh, just ignore that.
They're only
Don't
on
look at it. I'm gonna actually change this to, is that the best way to do it? Probably, to tile, so that, I guess that's the best way. I was trying to figure,
When we do the PowerPoint, that'll be the best way.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly, okay. Chris just texted live, yes, Chris. Another minute or so before.
Almost 7.
Yep,
Are we live now?
we're live now.
Okay.
Chris is working, he's doing this from home. He had to do some other updates and from home, and so we're like, let's try it. Let's see if we can do this without you. But we'll see.
Is that a shredder right there? So we have 6, right?
I think it's done this year, yeah?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So
It's 7
it is
o'clock.
7.
It is.
You ready? There we go. Hi, Estrella.
Hello.
Like to start the meeting and do the.
Okay, let's do the flag salute then.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since Denise is not here today, I get to run the meeting, so my trusty friend over here is going to read the public input statement.
Okay. The first public input session is a 15-minute session with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. But a second public input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. The speaker will give his name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designed for district residents, but the board chair may grant non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Statements concerning subject matter that falls under the law regarding executive sessions, for example, matters involving personnel, cannot be made during public input.
Thank you.
Do we have any?
We do. Hold on while I pull it up. So I'm just going to take this off so you can hear it more clearly. We had 2 pieces of public input this evening. One is from James Billing from North Berwick. And he states, I would like to understand when the superintendent and the school board is going to reevaluate the capacity of high school students to handle more workload. It appears that the bar has been set extremely low for remote learning days. Waiting until second semester to reevaluate is too long. And we've had, thankfully, having public input up, we could actually do a little investigating. So, Audrey, go ahead.
So just to summarize a few different things, we have gone back to our pre-COVID grading. So that is much different than what was happening from March until June. So that is a piece. Really, the high school has been, this has only been our 3rd week in, and so they are starting to really ramp up their academic pieces. They worked a lot on the social emotional learning that they've, had in place. They just social distancing, how to move through buildings, how to use platforms when they're remote. So just a few other parts. The students in 11th and 12th grade primarily have AP course options that they can take and have or taken. And then for students in our other grades, they have some different diploma endorsement options that they can begin to work on. 2 of them are STEM, one is general, one is engineering, and then another one is more focused on the English language arts piece called SEAL. And then in classes, you can opt, in the core classes, you can have honors as part of that class. And teachers have been sending out information to the students about how to do the honors parts of their classwork. So those are some things that are already in place. And then the high school is working on a block 5 is what it's going to be called. And that's more of a time for some self-paced coursework, as well as some specific lectures that are going to be occurring. So that's kind of where we are as a work in progress through all that.
Just to,
Sure.
Rebecca's trying to get in and I don't.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. So those are some of those pieces. They did, the administration here has done a little bit of kind of walking through the lunches, talking to students, seeing how things are going. And they've talked to about 90 students, just gauging, how's the workload, or how are you managing, how are things going? And they've had about 6 that have said they feel the work is, like, right now, too easy. The rest of them all felt like it was really well-paced comparative to last year before March and what they're used to. So that's that piece. I would say, though, if somebody has a real specific question about their child and what's happening for their child, or just to contact the administration or the guidance office at the school, because we have so many options here for them, just to make sure that they're taking advantage of everything that we have. Yep.
Okay, so, and the second question or statement is from Laura Costello in Berwick. It's pretty specific, so I'm kind of going to generalize it for you because it's regarding technology and some specific things that have happened for them, and I feel a little weird about it being that specific, and I'm sure Laura will let me know, but basically, there's been some issues in terms of Google Meets not working and the issues of absenteeism and marking and all that technology aspect of it. And this is not, she's not alone in this, as we are navigating, basically 2,500 students, actually the 3,000 students utilizing technology on a daily basis. We are definitely having some pieces that we're trying to ramp up and make sure that everybody's connected. But overall, it's been working pretty well. So in this specific incident, we made sure we followed up because, again, we got to have the information prior to tonight. The administration has had connections with the family. They've addressed the issue. It was within a fairly short period of time where the information came through, the ticket was placed. And at this point, folks are understanding that it's actually been taken care of. Now, we will follow up again tomorrow to make sure that that's actually following, it could basically, the other piece of it, and just, this isn't related necessarily to Laura's concerns, but statewide, there's connectivity issues that we've been dealing with. I was at a meeting in Sanford today for, in a homeless situation, but we were talking about Sanford, Massabesic, North and Noble, and the connectivity piece is really difficult. The fact that there are many, many areas in our state that don't still have good service and cellular services, that's creating some issues. And then there's that whole piece of the breakdown with just utilizing technology well and working with your school system to do it well. So it's generally.
How many million students statewide online at the same time?
Yeah, it is, but it's, in specific to this situation, we want to make sure that kids are able to access their teachers, and that if the technology fails, that we're able to get back to them quickly. So, because it does happen sometimes that they're in the middle of a session and something happens, and then there's that whole piece. There's about 20 variables that it could be. Is it on our end? Is it on the student end? Is it somewhere in between? So definitely one of the stressors that we're dealing with hybrid, for sure.
And those are the two?
Those are the two for now. We'll see what we get as we go on.
So next we go to the minutes
Okay.
of September 17th. Anybody see anything? Corrections or?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of September 18th.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I guess we do the roll call thing still, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Travis is not on there, right?
No.
Travis is not able to be here tonight.
Okay. No Denise. Okay, Linda.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Here.
Yeah, Denise is here. Denise Mallett is here.
She is?
Yep, she's there.
I'll abstain because I was absent last time.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Lynn?
coming. This is Frida.
Her, is that Denise?
Hi, guys. I'm gonna, I can vote to, on the minutes, but I'm gonna abstain for the rest of the meeting because my connectivity is really bad, so I can't really, I'm sort of in and out. So this
Okay.
one I am good on, and I give a thumbs up, and I am listening. But I'm not getting 100% of it, so I'm probably better off just in the background.
Okay, well, good to know you're here in spirit at least.
Denise,
Okay, Lynn Manley, on minutes? Is that a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Astrida,
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Joanne,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
and myself, Nancy, yes. Okay, so that's 1 absent, 2 abstentions, and 6 yeses.
Yeah,
5 yeses.
5 yeses, I think, because Thomas was up, yeah.
All right, next we go to donations that we have.
okay, we have a few donations and we will need a motion after I read through them. The first 2 are for the school nutrition program, that $500 from Mick Body Works and Truck Repair, and then $500 from Raymond Pelletier Jr. Incorporated, again for the school nutrition program. And then we have a donation of $500 for our backpack program from Daniel Het. So those were the 3.
Awesome. It's like every week, or
Yes.
every meeting rather.
Unbelievable.
We have like $1,000, $2,000 worth of donations. We
Yeah,
very much
that's-
appreciate the public for doing that.
Yeah. Well, I make a motion that we accept all of the donations for both the backpack program and the nutrition program with gratitude.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I'll do my list again. Linda,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Lynn. Lynn?
Yes,
Did she say yes?
Okay.
Denise can see them more clearly because she's got them on her screen.
Oh, okay. Astrida,
Yes.
Luann,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
and myself, Nancy, yes, so that's 6.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next is school construction projects and the SRRF.
Okay, last meeting, we talked about having updates from different committees. So these next 2 agenda items, the business manager update is going to incorporate some of just facilities and finance, just some overall finance pieces. And the school construction is very brief, just brief at the moment, because we've talked a little bit about this previous to this time. So the asbestos abatement work was done on the middle school during the summer. That's all been taken care of. And the status of the sprinkling of our elementary school buildings, the Lebanon Elementary, the Huzzy School in North Berwick. Where we're at with that right now is that we're trying to start getting some bids together, get the paperwork together for the bids, so that if we do in fact go red, or if we do have some flexibility around timing, we're gonna try to get some of the work done ahead of summer, which will put us in a good position in the summer to do other things. So that's the update on that. Yes,
Question.
sure.
You said Lebanon Elementary School, that we're still doing projects in that building then?
The sprinkling.
This is.
Yes, the Hanson, sorry. Sorry.
Thank you.
I thought about that too before I said it. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So then we're going to have a business manager update right now.
Okay, we're ready to go. All right, so I'm going to try
You can do
my new technology.
We're gonna share her screen, so,
Oh,
Okay.
Now, I did something wrong because it didn't share.
okay, remember we had to go back in and share again.
There. Hold on, here we go, share. All right, there we are, you got it.
Looks like something's up.
We're so proud of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We're learning so much.
Here we are. So hello, it's everybody, it's been a while and yet not. The focus of my update this evening, I want to address the 3 CRF, the Coronavirus Relief Fund grants, the ESSER grant, which is money that was provided through the CARES Act, and then give an update on fiscal 20, 21, 22, and an update on the PPE. So I'm going to start from the beginning and kind of lay this out as if people know not very much about what this is, just to include everyone. The Coronavirus Relief Fund are monies that the governor received, and she decided to issue them to schools to help them in their startup and getting back up and running. The rules of the road are that anything paid for by this grant can't previously have been budgeted. It needs to address urgent needs caused by COVID. The expenses cannot be reimbursed through any other funding source. The expenses must be incurred between March 1st of 20, and goes through December 30th of 20. Lost revenue cannot be recovered, so if the governor were to curtail, we could not use these funds to offset that. And any recipients must agree to the health and safety requirements identified by the Maine CDC for safely reopening. Those are the distancing, the masks, all of those things that we're doing. Additional guidelines that we have. All of the items purchased with these funds must be on site and ready to use by 12/30, which means if we order a bus and it comes on December 31st, it's not eligible. If it comes on January 15th, not eligible. So we have had to make sure in all of our dealings with vendors that they are very, very clear that it has to be here soon enough that we can, for example, register the bus and have it drivable by the 30th. So all of the people involved are working very hard on those requirements. Again, contracted service projects. Chris Russo has some technology things that he's working on. Again, the vendors have to be clear about that 12/30 deadline. Payroll expenses. There are 9 pay periods between September and December. So all of the teachers that we hire, for example, that were not budgeted, the first 9 pays can be covered by the grant. The other 17 have to be covered either by another grant or by local funds. Let's see, the reimbursement method. So the CRF1 grant, which is the initial outlay that they made, the reimbursement is manual. We have to copy every check, PO, invoice, and email it to the state, every $2.34 million. The second disbursement and the adult education disbursement are electronically through their grant reimbursement system. So our CRF1, our award was $2,354,310.90. We submitted our application, and these are the general categories of the items we purchased. We purchased 2 large buses, 2 minibuses, and 2 cargo vans to help with food delivery. We were able to charge storage container rentals, both in North Berwick and Lebanon. We have some containers storing furniture and things like that. We are able to deduct up through December 30 on those rentals. We have over $846,000, PPE, cleaning supplies, equipment, instructional materials, pretty much all of those little things that pulled together to get us up and running for the new year, whether it's carts to transport books or help teachers move from class to class, new school furniture, all of those things. We are putting $20,000 of food service and equipment there. Again, that will outfit those vans with cooling units, and there's some equipment like that that will help her deliver food to those remote families that need assistance. We have $294,000 charged for additional staff, additional work hours by current staff. Let's see, I think we had teachers move, all of the moves that they had to make, those reimbursements are in here. The remote staff we had to hire, the additional staff for, splitting classrooms and maintaining, the right ratios in the classrooms. We have $68,000 set aside for professional development training and books. This is largely dedicated to remote instruction and trauma-informed practices. So the social emotional side of things, as well as helping teachers get better at the remote instruction side of things. And then we have approximately $724,000 in technology-related costs. We are improving bandwidth within the district buildings, upgrading phone systems, additional iPads. We're working on touchless entry to classrooms here. So rather than everybody having to have a key, we're going to like a fob system. And there is also some equipment being installed to help teachers when they have students in front of them and remote. There's going to be some equipment that will help that process and make it more smooth. The Adult Education Award was $3,719.16.
16 cents.
And we're going to use every penny. We're using a little over $3,000 to support family literacy initiatives, specifically the kindergarten book bags. That's a project Adult Ed has done for a long time, and they usually rely on donations and from outside groups. And they weren't feeling that they were going to be able to do that this year. So we are using this money to facilitate those book bags so that they can still happen. She's also getting a few document cameras and upgrading some practice tests from paper to electronic. Okay. Our second round of CRF money, CRF number 2, our award was $2,467,166.73.
You got an additional one?
Yeah.
Of the same amount?
It's more.
It's a little bit more.
It's more.
Wow.
We were notified on 9/29. Our application is due on 10/15. And the same rules and deadlines apply as the first one.
Wow.
We are going to find it very hard to spend all of this money that was just awarded given those parameters.
Yeah.
For example, if we were to look at doing some HVAC work in the district, we have to put it out to a formal sealed bid, advertise in the paper, have people come by and take a look at the systems, analyze their proposals, interview them, and select a candidate, and then schedule it to be done before December 30th, which isn't possible.
And we can't use this for teacher salaries other than the remote people we've added.
People not budgeted already.
Yep.
And everybody who's remote, we've already sucked up into that, like whatever we could, we put into that first round.
Is there any more technology that we could?
We'll
So
work on some of that.
Chris is working on some technology where,
Some digital library.
we have
Materials.
maybe some maintenance things that we could do, maybe some touchless fixtures. We're trying to think hard about some things we can.
The unfortunate piece is the parameters that they're set are not allowing us to actually do the things that you would think would be the most beneficial, like the HVAC system is a big deal. We weren't even able to do it in the first round because of the timing. So the second, so we do have, this is not just our issue, it's an issue if any of the systems are using this in the rest of the state. It's federal funds.
Especially since we know that our curtailment's coming, and this would be perfect.
Right. It would be super helpful.
Yeah, but one of their rules is no lost revenue. It cannot be a replacement for lost revenue.
Right. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of
strings.
So,
Is there any transportation issues that we need to address?
well, yes,
That was so few students on each bus.
So we have so we did order 4 school buses, 2 large and 2 small, and that will help. The trouble is getting them here and on the road by December 30th.
They have.
We just received this past weekend, the 5 buses we ordered in June.
Oh.
So we have talked to the bus company, they have said, yes, we are able to deliver so that you can get these on the road. But I wouldn't imagine there's much more time to be able to do that. The other consideration is, and we've done this before as a district, if we buy 20 school buses now, they're all going to go bad at the same time, and in 10 or 15 years, we'll be having to replace them half a fleet or a quarter of a fleet. So one of, we are looking at that, but I think at this point, the timing kind of rules out more buses. And, yeah, so we'll be getting 9 buses this year, in essence. 5 that were in our budget and 4 that are.
I have a question on the transportation. Have we thought about, I assume we're still, like at capacity, like we do need more capacity, correct, for buses?
I think, I mean, everybody that was on the wait list has been placed on buses. I think, I mean, that's good. I think as we go through the year and we see some people possibly shifting from remote to more hybrid, we're going to need to do that dance and that balance about the busing and everything. But yes, we certainly can use more transportation. The other issue is the drivers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do we have enough drivers
Right.
for the buses?
Yeah, so my question is, I know that some schools, I think Berwick Academy and a couple of other schools are contracting with C&K because they're still not up, like they're still not on the road 100%. Have we looked into something like that?
We actually did look into that.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks before school began, we did look into that, and there were very few companies that actually had buses that would qualify for school-based buses. And it was cost prohibitive at that time for what we needed and the length of the contract.
Yeah, okay. And then I do actually have another question. So everything that Denise, that you just listed, and like what we've been able to do with that first award, anything that is like a tangible item, like those are still, like those are for us to keep, like any technology. So we're spending that money, and then like that then belongs to the district, right? There's nothing, there's nothing in here that's gonna have to get like, well, obviously you're not gonna like send back PPE, but I mean, there's nothing on here. Once we purchase it, it is ours going forward.
Correct.
Okay. You guys have done a good job thinking of everything.
We just need to figure out, we need to figure out how to get them to extend the deadline to
Really?
till the end of June or something, but we're working on that. We're working on that. We've been chatting with a bunch of legislators, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, they're probably thinking we're not going to need any of this stuff in January, but I'm not sure that's true.
Well, even like teacher salaries,
Yeah, just let us carry it through.
carry a teacher for a year, but we can't do that. We can carry them for a third of the year. Okay. Our next grant is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Grant, the ESSER grant. This funding was provided through the Education Stabilization Fund of the CARES Act. This was done back in March of 20. This was the big, where the PPP program and all of these big federal programs, the unemployment and all of that took place. The allowable cost here, it's much more wide open. It is anything that would be eligible under our federal grants that we currently have. The homelessness, special education, disadvantaged students, any of those expenses. In addition, coordination of COVID-19 preparedness and response efforts, resources for principals to address the needs of their schools, activities to address unique needs of underserved or disadvantaged students, training and PD for staff on sanitation, minimizing the spread of infectious diseases, and supplies for cleaning and sanitizing. Preparing and coordinating long-term closures, educational technology, mental health services, anything related to summer learning and supplemental programs, and basically anything needed to operate and continue school during this crisis. These funds, again, are extremely flexible. The CRF applications were due and had to be finalized by yesterday, the first one. And then the second, I imagine, would be by the end of October. And they're immovable. Once you've submitted the final, that's what you're stuck with. And if you don't spend it all, you can't move money around it. These ESSER funds, you are able to, not only are the restrictions less tight, we are able to reassess and pivot if we need to. If we decide we were going to hire a teacher, but we're not going to do that, instead we're going to buy some technology, we can resubmit the application for an adjustment and they will approve it. Again, the rules are you have to address, the expenses have to be directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic. You cannot be reimbursed for the expenses through any other funding source. The expenses can be incurred between March 13 of 20 and September 30th of 2022. Lost revenues, again, cannot be recovered with these funds, and this occurs electronically through the reimbursement system with the state. Our award was $439,855.90. And currently, in our current application as accepted, we are paying for additional staffing costs with all of it. These are additional guidance counselors that were brought in to support students. These are teaching staff to support both remote and in-person learning due to social distancing requirements and splitting classrooms. We have additional costs for increased responsibilities. Some of our ed tech staff are doing some teaching roles. So we budgeted for their regular salary, but any of the additional we're paying them as teachers can be put to this grant, so they're basically being split between the two funding sources. We are going to look for some part-time temporary support for the central office. We have the workload that this has placed on the staff in the central office is amazing. HR alone not only has to deal with all of the new rules about FMLA and leaves and absences and accommodations and the staff coming and going, and in addition to that, the sheer volume of the invoices, the purchasing, all of that. We're completely overwhelmed with the volume. So we're going to get some part-time temporary help to help there. And then we also have a part-time staff member who is developing direct communication with the community. She's working to, I don't know what platform she's doing, but I'm assuming it's websites and Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all of those things to keep everybody kind of on the same page with the same information, and be able to receive information back from everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Right? So that's it on the grants. Does anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to the second grant that we have, and we're not sure we're gonna be able to spend it all. Have we considered, and maybe you already have, but any kind of outside learning centers? I know it's getting colder, but depending on what you put up.
So we're actually looking at putting awnings on most of the buildings so that we have outside spaces that can be retracted.
Yeah.
We can't build an outdoor classroom. They do not allow you to use.
That's the word I was looking for, yeah.
So we're creating spaces where you can have an outside classroom, but it can be retracted. We have to be wicked creative. That's what we're doing. We're just like, so some places, some districts have bought those really large circus tents and set those up. We did consider that, but have chosen not to do that. We have some places that I think a couple of the schools have larger tents, but not like those huge ones. They're not permanent structures, and with like the weather issue for us is a big deal. Like,
You wouldn't be able to use them in the winter.
right, how's it gonna really work out? So we kind of went in a different direction that way. But because one of the no's is that you can't build outside structures.
Oh, okay.
You can't build structures. We couldn't build storage sheds. We can't, things that would make sense, sorry, in my world. It does not appear to be something that applies. So, yeah, it's been, But if you could, like, keep throwing ideas at us, because something might stick that we're like, oh yeah, that is a great idea, we hadn't thought about that. You know, we're up for it.
Would a yurt be considered useful? They can make some pretty big ones.
What was that?
A yurt. It's not a permanent structure. It's basically a tent, but it's got a little more structure.
Yeah, I think there, so one of the only other things that we'd have to discuss with that is code in our towns and how that impacts, because there is some code issues in regard to putting up structures in our towns as well. So I'll just be quiet about that.
Just whatever we call them.
The
Rental of, they're not permanent because they're gonna go away.
So we could utilize those until December 30th, but anything beyond December 30th would have to be paid for on local funds.
What about the kind of outdoor heaters that restaurants use?
That's not a bad idea, actually, that's a good idea, Rashida. Keep throwing them, guys, keep throwing them. We're trying to think of
Well,
stuff.
under the audience, they would be.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great at the awnings.
Yeah, those
you know.
heaters,
So
yeah.
like all of these buildings will look like the sunsetter awnings. I don't know, we're trying not to be, the other part that's really hard is we're not trying to spend money just to spend money. We're trying to find like real useful, long-term solutions to some of these interesting problems that we have.
And, you know, for example, we're going to need to buy more PPE. We ordered PPE, but it's not enough to last us, so, you know, some of that will need to be ordered. There's some other things that we will,
And really, if you know, buy 1 million masks, and are they gonna come in and inspect us and see if we have any masks left?
we have to keep an inventory, so we are actually doing that. And I don't know.
Yeah, the federal guidelines are very, very stringent and
I'm trying very hard to be that devil's advocate that
Yeah.
says, what will they come in and say?
Yeah.
I've been in close contact with our auditors, with the people from the Department of Education Finance Group, all of the people assigned to these grants. And we have weekly meetings on both the business manager side and the grant side, and it is very hard, and all districts are going through this. They're trying to scramble, and again, you don't want to spend money just to spend money.
You're right.
And yet, if we can find something to spend it on that will improve the experience for our staff and students, we are trying to do that. If it gives us more flexibility, we're trying to do that. But I'm trying to be pretty strict with, because what happens is if we spend it on something that is not ultimately approved, then if it can go one of two ways. It can get stopped and they just don't approve it and we pull it back into the district funds. Or they can approve it at the state level, and when they do the desk audits for our district, so the federal government is going to come in and audit schools. We are one of the bigger school districts with bigger awards, so my guess is we will be on that list, in addition to our own audit firm targeting this grant for the next audit. They will come in and they will do just that. They will come in and say, show me this and show me that, and where's your inventory, and show me how you estimated how much you were gonna need, and so we're trying to fly on the right side of all those rules.
Denise keeps us straight and narrow. So we appreciate her.
But we do need to try to find ideas, again, like the heaters and the awnings and all of those things.
So email us if you hear anything or if you
Yeah,
think of
great
anything.
ideas.
You know, the generators.
The generators are on our list, but we don't have very many left.
No, but still.
But I think the generators, I think it's the Huzzy School and the Hurd School, Mary Hurd. And it could be, I don't know if the high school is, I think that there's certain parts of the high school that are on generator. So we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's a while, for sure. And you know what, if the good stuff is I'm getting emails and text messages right now, what about this, what about this, what about this, so good. We'll
Yep.
take all that information and
Yeah.
try to come up with some more plans. Good, thank you for everybody. All right.
All right. So financial update.
Okay,
So just again to make sure we're all on the same page, I know Stephanie is new to us this year, so I figured I'd just start at the beginning and kind of go through it. Our fiscal year 1920 ended on June 30th of 2020. Our interim audit, which means our first half or 2/3 of the audit occurred in it says June, it was July of 20. they largely focus on compliance issues and things like that, but she works generally 3 or 4 days auditing. The final portion of the audit begins the week of October 19th, and that's where the numbers are all finalized, and over the next the months after that, we finalize and prepare the audit books. Final reports are due no later than December 30th, and then our auditor will come in and present results to the school board in January or February of '21. My preliminary year-end estimates, again, I'm going to say preliminary, show that we are going to end with an increase to the fund balance of more than $1 million.
Does that mean 1 million, that's what we have, or 1 million more than the 300,000?
$1 million more than 300. So when we take revenues less expenses for fiscal '20, I'm looking at $1 million or more for the end balance.
Yeah, it is a shoot, it is because things have been so crazy too,
I mean,
trying to get it all
you can't
down.
cut teachers, you just, of all the years, you
Yeah.
can't do it this
Yeah.
year.
We are, one of the things that's difficult about closing out fiscal '20 is we are combing through, trying to make absolutely sure that anything that qualified for these grants has been pulled out and is in the grant fund and not in the local funds. So it's taking us a lot of time to make sure that that's happened. So we're still working on it. In 3 weeks, could give you a better, I feel more firm about this, but this is something I think is approximately
That
right.
makes me feel better.
We all breathe a little sigh of relief.
Yeah.
We all do. It's, my staff knows I run that report with my eyes closed.
Yeah. Just have to make it a later.
Yeah. And then, of course, it tells me and I don't believe it and I have to go and vet it. But, so that's where I think we are ending for fiscal '20. Fiscal '21, what I did is I have here our September.
We're all going.
Yeah, I will tell you, I tried to email this presentation to you all. I'm having trouble with email here. I don't know if it's just in this room or if it's in the building, but I'll make sure you guys get this whole presentation so you can look at this.
We're just gonna blame it on Chris.
He's not here.
He's
This is-
listening now. He'll text me in a minute.
The financial summary is as of September 30th.
You just did, I heard that.
You just did.
As of yesterday. This is prepared and given to the board each month, usually by the superintendent. The top section shows our revenue, largely the state subsidy, the local revenue, the fund balance, and other revenues we expect to receive. You'll notice that approximately 75% is remaining in state and local revenue. And if you look down at the bottom in the fiscal year, you can see 75% of the year is left. So that tells me we're right on target with our payments. Then we look down below in the expense category. These are the 11 budget categories dictated by the state. We have the amount appropriated, which is our budget for fiscal '21. We have the amount expended, which is money that's actually been paid. We have amounts encumbered, which are those that we know we've set aside the money for, so we don't spend it twice. And then we have a remaining balance. So, for example, in regular instruction, we've expended $1,471,000, but we've encumbered $13,951,000. That's largely for teaching salaries and ed tech salaries. Special education, similarly, most of the expenses are salaries. So again, you can take a look through this. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. And it doesn't have to be tonight. You can certainly email me at any time. Okay? All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention with respect to fiscal '21 is curtailment. There is no official word on curtailment, but the most current information through the grapevine is that the governor is looking to make FY '21 budget cuts with all the other state departments and not with the education department. She is trying to hold general purpose aid steady for this year. What it will mean is that we'll pay our pound of flesh in the biennial budget next year and the year after.
It's a horrible way to say it, though.
We'll pay our pound of flesh.
Yeah, we will, yeah.
Again, the curtailment to GPA for those 2 fiscal years, number of 10% has been rumored, and 10% to us is about $2 million.
Oh.
So when you look at our ending to $1 million to the good this year, that certainly we can use to offset curtailment for the coming year. I mean, for the fiscal '22 budget.
So we can still keep that $1 million into the next year that we were able to hold over this year.
Right, so what happens is we are finalizing fiscal '20. Any money in the fund balance, we are able to use in the fiscal '22 budget that we're going to start creating in the next month or so. So that million, if we say, all right, once we get the figure in February, and it's down $2 million, we can use an extra $1 million from our fund balance to offset that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to work to figure out where the rest comes from, but.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's not that big, but
Right.
again, no
That was
official
the-
word.
That was the word, to the superintendent group to say, that's, think that.
Right, okay.
And it wasn't up to, that wasn't the minimum, so I'm, probably in a sunshine, I'm gonna hope for it to be.
Hope for it to be less.
Right.
And the other thing that you heard was that in theory, the curtailment or the reduction for fiscal '22 will be slightly heavier handed than the fiscal '23 curtailment. And my guess is they're hoping that things rebound, right? That the economy and that the revenues for the state start to come in and come back to life, so. All right.
Thank you.
The last thing I wanted to review was the PPE, and this was just an interesting slide. One of the things my accounting buddies and I in the office have taken on is ordering PPE for the district. And so this is what we spent a lot of the late summer doing, ordering masks and shields and gowns and gloves and purifiers and pillows and cots and things. We ordered 160 of those back to school bags, which were given to every employee, and they contain face shields and hand lotion and sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer, those sorts of things.
Or elements.
We have 38 hygiene stations. You'll see those, you saw them as you came in the front entrance. They're stocked with masks and hand sanitizer, so no matter, whatever the main entrances are for staff or visitors, in addition to kitchens, they all have these stations, so that if anybody comes in and doesn't have what they need, they are able to get it. Again, we will be working shortly in the next couple weeks to get some more PPE ordered to have on stock.
How many gloves?
I know, it seems like a lot, but then you divide by 2.
Say it out loud. Because I can't see it from here. I don't know what you guys.
There are 271,000 gloves that were ordered. Again, that covers everyone from kitchen staff to nurses to special educators helping medically needy students to, you name it, they're everywhere, so they go quickly. Let's see. I guess the last thing I want to say, that's the end of my presentation, but I wanted to thank the staff in the central office for all their hard work. They've dug in, they have been bombarded on every level with new grants, new requirements, new rules, new regulations, with volume, with everything. And everyone, without an exception, has just smiled and done what they needed to do. And not one of the administrative group would be here. And it's honestly not just the central office staff. Look at all the school secretaries who are now in charge of PPE ordering for their school and keeping the inventory, and the custodial staff and Kevin and Ronnie who are storing it and keeping an inventory and tracking it, and
The school nurses who have to, who, like in every building are trying to relieve anxiety all the time about, it's Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable how this district and the staff here has pulled together, and you would never notice it. You would never walk through the office and sense that things are falling apart or that things are overwhelming. They have taken it completely in stride and kept us in a good place. So
For sure.
we couldn't do it without them.
Wonderful. All right.
Thank you, Denise.
Welcome. All right. Employment.
Okay, I think I'm going to start with the resignation first. Eva Hamill, who is our Human Resource Coordinator, is resigning effective October 9th. She has an opportunity in one of her family business, the family business. And so that is our resignation, I should say.
And we all want to cry.
How long has she been?
Oh,
Is
wow.
it 12, is it 12 years?
Oh, sorry, I
She
didn't
was
mean
at
to make
Hussey
more work
first.
for you.
I'm trying
No,
to
because she was,
Yeah, she was
at
She was
Hussey,
Audra secretary.
Oh,
And
really?
For 3 years?
I think it was 3 years,
Yeah,
yes.
and then she's been with
Yes.
us.
Is this one of those times where we cannot vote to approve it?
sorry, Denise, I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's not, like, yeah.
She deserves, she's got a great opportunity and we love her, so we want her to be happy too. And we have a good opportunity as well, so we're gonna be okay.
Right. So I do feel it's been 12 years, 3 at Hussey,
Yeah.
the rest up
Yeah.
at the central office. So that's that. Do we take the resignation motion separately?
So
to
this one,
everything else?
actually, I don't believe that you need a motion for this because she's one of our, basically our support staff folks, but we wanted you to know about it.
Okay.
And we also want you to know all about.
Right. So then our new hire is Sarah Millett for our remote social studies. She's coming already from the middle school. She's been working as an educational technician, but she's a certified teacher. And she will take on, as I said, the social studies piece that was for their remote academy at the middle school level. That was the outstanding piece that we needed. So that then wraps up that team of 4 for about 100 students.
So that one we do need to.
We do need to have a
Yeah.
motion on that
Do we have
one.
any more teachers?
We do not have a teacher.
Okay, so we can,
Okay, so do you want to
we need a vote.
approve the new hire?
I'll make a motion to approve the new hire, Sarah Millett.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll go through our list.
And I can vote because I have been.
I was going to call your name first, actually.
Yep.
Denise.
Yeah.
Linda.
Yes,
Rebecca.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Frida.
Yes.
Fran.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
And me, Nancy, yes. That'd be 8-0.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we just have a transfer, and that's Patty Megley from Hussey School Office to the Human Resources Coordinator here at the central office. So there's a little pattern of they
go there and then they come here.
Patty followed Eva at Hussey School, so it felt fitting. So,
So that's it for that.
That's it.
Yep,
All
that's
right,
it.
superintendent report.
Okay, so just an update again. We said we would give an update on attendance for students and staff. So this week, our range for staff was 97 to 99% present. And our student range was 89, which was on Monday. There was one school that had 89%. But most of the schools are running between 94 and 98% attendance. So our high has been 98 and our low was in one building at 89 on Monday. And we just wanted to continue our update. Last time we met, we talked a little bit about the opening of schools. So we just want to continue that update by talking a little bit about our remote academies. We're going to focus a little bit on the K-5 this time. So we have approximately 299 students participating K-5. I will give you the numbers for the others just so you have that as well. Grade 6 and 7 is about 100. They're at like 98, 99. And then 8 to 12, 247 students. So we have about 2 teachers per grade level in kindergarten, first, third, and fourth. And then at the second grade level and at the fifth grade level, there are 3 teachers at each of those 2 grade levels. We've had Shannon Swiger, who's our Director of Teaching and Learning, has really taken this on as a temporary addition to her role. And so we've had a lot of professional development for this remote staff on best practices in virtual teaching. We've had weekly PD sessions in technology, different platforms and different ways to really, get the best out of what we have to offer technology-wise for our students. There's been a consultant in for some support for literacy for remote. It's very different teaching literacy remotely than it is in the classroom setting. And our focus has really been right now on the literacy and the numeracy. And we are adding, as of next week, we're adding the social emotional lessons from one of our school counselors that will be doing that. And we will be doing some coding work with those cohorts as well, as far as the technology piece goes. And we're going to continue to add in other opportunities for different types of activities as music and art and PE. But we really wanted to make sure that we got the literacy and the numeracy started first, then the social emotional pieces, and then add in those other parts. We had our first survey for our remote parents of the K-5 students, and we had 165 parents participate. That's good. So a couple of the questions. So the first question was about attendance, and it was about, does your child attend all the lessons and daily assignments? And 83.6% of parents said yes. So 16.4 said no. The second question was communication from the teacher. Is it clear and timely? 97.6% of families that took the survey said yes. 2.4% said no. And then the third question, assignments and content posted. Is it posted consistently and timely? Same numbers, 97.6 were yes, 2.4 said no %. And question 4, the teacher has structured drop-in options, 93.9% yes and 6.1% no. And then question 5, is your child able to manage the schedule and expectations? 92.1% said yes, 7.9% said no. So we're focusing on those and following up with families just to see how we can continue to support them. Then just to bump up to the middle school, just very briefly, their survey will likely go out next week. So we'll have information for you the next board meeting around the middle school and how that's going. And we wanted to talk a little bit about our vision for the remote piece. And as I said, Shannon Swiger, who has been doing a lot of this work, we're going to shift some of that over. And Sue's going to talk about that.
Sure. So we actually put in an advertisement to hire a lead remote teacher, to somebody that could do a stipended position, 10 hours a week basically, to kind of oversee this whole process, because Shannon has done a phenomenal job, but she has not been able to do the other part of her job at all because it's been all consuming. So we did some interviews over the past few days, and we ended up with a fabulous candidate, Bridget Dumont, who actually currently works for us in the district. And she's a technology integrator, and she used to be a teacher. So she's on the teacher contract already, but has been doing all technology integration. She's excited about this whole option. And our goal, honestly, is to kind of knock this right out of the park and create ourselves a remote academy that is something that will be able to be just carry on for the future. The reality of it is our world has changed significantly. March turned the world on its ear, and it's time, right? It's time for us to embrace the technology piece of it, the remote learning piece, and allow some flexibility for our families. And I think this is going to be, I'm super excited about it, believe it or not. It's quite an opportunity. So we'll work together. Right now, Bridget's going to really focus on keeping those teachers sane keep providing as many different platforms and supports as possible, working with families to get everybody up to speed. There's definitely a wide range of ability levels, between parents and staff and all that, and but as things hopefully settle down and our world gets back to normal a little bit, we're gonna really work on folks that are really interested in this remote aspect of things and teachers that are really interested in that and bringing them into the fold a little bit. I would guess that within, it'll take us a good solid year, but I think we can develop a K-12 academy that will be, that could probably, honestly, I'm gonna say rival anything that other people are doing that are taking our kids away.
Right.
Right, and they're taking our kids away. They're online school is not new in the other parts of the world, so let's take it back and support our kids in the best way we can. So that's where we're at with that. One of the things that we need to talk about tonight is we had talked in the early stages of the opening of school about flexibility in terms of between hybrid and remote and hybrid. And we've had about 4 weeks, 4 weeks now. In that time, we've had about 45 students swap from one to the other. At some point, we need to solidify our walls a little bit. And it's not that we don't want flexibility for our families, but at this point, we're like, if remote kids come back, it's a problem in our schools right now, because the space is exactly where it needs to be. And sometimes, if we bring in another 1 or 2 second graders, for instance, it may mean that we'll have to split a classroom, which means us adding staff. So we're kind of up against it right now. We've been really flexible for the past month, but I think that we need to think about,
Hey, Sue,
yeah,
are the you said there are about 45 students like moving back and forth, but it sounds like the majority of them are going from remote to in-person. Is that correct?
no, I think it's 50-50-ish, I would say.
Yes, and that's just at the K-5
That's K to 5 level, that's just our K to 5.
45 at the K-5 level.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just speak to that one in particular, just because that's the
Okay.
date.
I had a couple questions, Joe. I'm still hearing
Sure.
some pretty high numbers in my opinion. So do you have a number in your head of what is the appropriate number of kids in remote class? Because I think 23 first graders could probably drive me insane.
I think.
So I'm just thinking, that's hard.
Yeah, and
It's hard for the kids and it's hard for the teachers.
right, Nancy, and I think that is absolutely one of our concerns, is that at what point do you
Right.
add a classroom, either remotely or in person? And right this minute, although the numbers are still high and we're trying to provide, we may provide tech support. I mean, we're thinking about that for our remote folks as well, particularly in the literacy area, trying to get that working.
And we're also looking for the literacy area just to work across some of the grade levels to bring the range of reading levels one teacher's working and planning on at a smaller range. So instead of maybe having, 10 different ranges that you're planning for, or 5 different ranges you're planning for,
What does that say?
less than.
What does that
This is gonna switch to standby in a moment.
Okay.
Okay,
Talk fast.
all right, I'm just gonna go like push a button and not turn it off, but.
So just some creative, not that would alleviate numbers, but just as far as a teacher really being able to focus in on certain levels within those grade levels. That's one of the other ways that we're looking at that.
I think
Is certainly
that's so
to
much easier.
recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea.
Mhm. Sure.
I think parents have had
Enough time.
enough.
I don't know if
time
that'll
to
do
make
it or
that
not.
Decision. I think
Right.
people, right now, they know where they want their kids, at
Mhm.
least to January. So I personally think it's a good idea to set a date and say, from this date on, you're gonna have to stay wherever you are, if it's in school or remote.
Yeah,
we need some continuity. Do you have a date in mind?
Absolutely.
We do, we're looking at that natural break, basically, of like, so there's trimesters for
Mhm.
our K to 5ers, and actually 6th and 7th is also a trimester, so it's that first trimester break, and then the first semester for the high school. We need to.
And you mean people can change up until that time?
No, like at this point,
What you are right now,
what
you're
you're
staying.
saying now, we need to stay until then, and then we can reassess it
Okay.
at that point, if people are comfortable. And one of the things that we really are trying to hold true to is that you had asked us to be flexible and allow parents to do that, and we definitely want to do that, but at some point, we need to like shore it up a little bit and say, we gotta stick to this for a while.
We
I have
also,
a question. Is there any provision possible should numbers get worse? I mean, York County's in the news right now as being the worst situation in the state, and I think that's just getting started. I mean, I don't want to be a doomsayer. I don't want to be a doom crow, but the situation is constantly changing. How can we keep you guys sane, but also still acknowledge that it's hard to make that decision when the rules on the ground are shifting week to week?
so one thing I was just starting to say, Estrida, and you just corroborated that for me, is that we will have extenuating circumstances that we will need to deal with, and we will honor those pieces, but just that high number of 45 in or out just disrupts the learning for the students.
Right.
And, you know, one of the thoughts that we had is if we had a grade level that had an entry in, like a high number in, then we could move a remote teacher potentially in, and vice versa. If we had a grade level that was coming out, we could pull a teacher into remote, but it's not working that way.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's all across the board.
it's all across the board. So we're not able to, flex some of those teachers like, we could have potentially done. But we certainly will, if we have extenuating circumstances, honor those pieces as we can, certainly.
So do we want to give the parents any
Yes.
prior notification
Yes.
as of this date, this is where we are, and.
Yeah, we will do that. And the other piece of it and we haven't talked about this yet, so I might be, but I mean, the reality of it is coming back into school is a little harder than going remote.
Right.
Although providing the support so
Plus
these
they're in
two
first grade.
is important. Well, right, but and then it's the question of do we add?
Right.
It's one thing to be able to add a human, it's another thing to add space.
Right.
And when kids are coming in and principals are walking around their buildings trying to find a spot that has an extra space, that's different than,
Yeah.
okay, we might need to add a remote teacher and split his first grade class. Do you know what, so there is that piece of it. It may be that we're gonna say people are not really gonna be able to go from remote to in-person easily.
No.
So, and those are all considerations. None of this is simple, none of it is very black and white, but we're working to try to meet the needs of everybody right
So do
now.
we need to set a date?
I think that we're gonna, we're looking at pretty soon.
Like October 15th?
Yeah.
Or something like that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Or
have
maybe
to,
that's
I have a question.
notice, right? I mean, the parents, so you gotta give them at least
Yeah.
a week to 10 days to say,
Yeah,
this is the
where we're at.
deadline.
Yeah. So the 15th to me
So I
works.
have a question.
Sure.
Can we make it that, like, basically, after whatever date we set, families can still make the request, but it would be sort of a wait list as we are able. So if there was a classroom that like could easily take another child, then sure, no problem. But it basically would allow you guys to sort of, put on a wait list until there was a spot that we could work out, if that was kind of the expectation that
yeah.
That's perfectly reasonable, and we can set the parameters for that. Yeah.
So do we need to vote on that or anything?
I don't think so. It's just something we wanted you to know about because
Just to be aware.
we had been you've asked very clearly for us to be able to be as flexible as possible, and I feel like we have. But at some level, we've got to be able to
You
like
can't
put
do
it
this
down.
all
Yeah.
year, no.
Yeah.
With the option at the beginning of the
Yeah, we'll
second
revisit.
semester or
Yeah.
the second trimester or whatever,
Yeah. Definitely.
And then the only other thing on this, the superintendent report is just that an email went out about our committees. So just if you could take a second to look at that, that would be great. And we'll, send emails out about those committees and those dates for those.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I just wanted one other, you have been receiving our emails regarding any of the issues that have arisen.
Yeah.
So just wanted to make sure that everybody was up to date with the communications, okay?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
We didn't have an other put on here, but I do have a couple of others.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
So,
sure.
did the bus issue get resolved?
You're talking about
The bus that was
the
smelling?
catalytic converter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anything that's, Brenda did a better job explaining it than I did.
Oh,
But it's, yeah, well,
Let me see if I can pull it up.
yeah, it actually.
You don't know, this was a Lebanon bus?
It must have been 11 of us, yeah.
Yeah, that somebody was driving behind and the fumes were pretty bad and they were concerned and,
They have to use DEF for any of the new catalytic
oh, yeah.
converters, and it just has to flush the system.
It flushes
When
the
it does that, the
Smoke goes
fumes
behind.
come out, but it burns off. I don't know if that's the correct term, but
Yeah.
it's quick
Yeah,
normally.
and there's no, like, it's not like the driver can control it.
No.
It's just when it does it. So you understand it better than I do, probably because you are around those big trucks, but I was like, I looked at it and went, oh yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not loading.
Of course not.
But that's pretty much
yes.
the gist of it, and it's just a natural thing that, but the new, that's what the new
Yeah.
vehicles have to. have
Because I
to
think
do.
one car actually pulled over and they were gagging and the people
Yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
at
Yes,
least that's what the email.
but if it's anything, if it's something additional, I'm sure the mechanic will look at it,
Yeah.
and if it's another issue with the bus, I'm sure they'll take care of that,
Yeah.
and I don't believe it was.
yeah, and I think probably, you might not have gotten the response, Nancy, so I'll forward it to you, so you have
I
it.
don't think I did, no.
All right.
I have a different question. I was gonna ask about that bus as well, so I'm glad, that's answered. With the bus and the staggering, we talked about a student sitting at the window and then the other one sitting opposite in the aisle, if they are that close together, if they have to go seat by seat. I've seen some buses driving through town where it looks like they're able to spread out a little bit further. Or it could be towards the end of their run, what have you. But they're still supposed to be wearing their masks, right?
Yeah,
They should be, yes.
Okay. I can follow up with an email after, but I think we might have a bus to check on with that. And also, I wondered if all bus monitors had been filled, because the one bus that I wanted to talk about, I don't think they had any support. So are those all filled specifically Lebanon is what I'm asking about?
I don't believe that those have been filled.
That's probably, I think that's a good portion of the problem. It just happened in front of my house. We were going outside and literally they stopped right there. So I'll email about the situation after, but that's why I wanted to ask to make sure with the masks. And I was like, well, maybe because they were so far spread, but again, I'll follow up with that after.
thank you.
Yep.
And I just have one, and we don't have to do this tonight, we can do this next time, but I'd kind of like to know what the different buildings are doing with their specials. Because I've heard some things that don't make me really happy, and I want to make sure everything is the same in all three
Okay.
elementary schools.
Okay.
You know, everybody's getting the art, and the music, or the PE, or the computer, or what do they leave out, library? Yeah, that just, and the remote kids too, I want, if they're doing that, I don't know, but just, I think there should be equal, so.
So I will be honest with you, remote is not as simple to provide specialists.
Oh, I know,
So
oh, I know.
we're really focusing on literacy and numeracy.
Right.
And we're gonna pull in specialist pieces as we go, but it's not gonna be your typical.
Well, I didn't
Like,
figure it would be the first 2 weeks,
Yeah,
but, and once we get to be a month in, I would think,
Well, as I mentioned, the coding piece is gonna be beginning next week and the social emotional piece.
so all this,
Ju-
the
for
remote,
for
the remote coding,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I have, anybody else have anything else?
Yes. Do we have a public comments and
There's no others at this point.
yeah, I have someone who said that they're trying to get in to make a public comment and they couldn't access the link or.
Okay, and when did that happen? Because up until,
7:15. I just saw it in my.
I don't know, that was definitely, it's still open at 7:15. Because Jen, I actually just had Jen shut it off like 4 minutes ago.
I am forwarding it. Oh, you just shut it off?
Why don't you just, can she forward it to you and just have, and we can read it?
Sure.
Do you have? Because it just did, like
Okay.
5 minutes ago. Or was it Jen, 8:10 is when? Because I've been checking it and there's nothing I've been coming through.
Please, okay. Just get a quick minute.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to hop off at this point. But thank you. I was able to hear everything loud and clear. So,
Great. Bye Denise.
Bye, Denise.
all right. Thanks. Bye.
While we're waiting, just another quick question. Towards the beginning of school, you guys had mentioned mask compliance was going pretty well all the way around, and there was only one issue, and it was taken care of pretty quickly. Is it still going like that, or is everybody pretty much getting into the swing of things, and is it going well?
It's still going very well. We have had some situations, some ongoing situations, but the staff and the administration have worked on those pieces, and it's improved for the certain children that was occurring for.
And it's a small group. Stephanie, most of the kids are great, like really better than most adults I used to know. They really are pretty good. But there is a handful.
All good news then, thank you.
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
Denise, I was thinking about the equipment. You know, even though the wonderful things like the hands-free washing stations and the soap, even if we get them, how can you install them in time? That, you know,
That's the thing.
that's, you know, those are wonderful things. It'd be great if we could do them, but there would be no time.
Somebody who was in education made those rules.
Well, it's not the Department of Education, it's from the Department of the Treasury, so it's a very different
Yep.
set of guidelines.
I have
that
no
they use.
idea the timeline.
The turnaround is crazy.
And we've actually, Chris Russo has one project that he's working on under the funding. And he had two vendors, almost identical bids, probably $500 between them. The one that was slightly more expensive, willing to work off hours, and the other only would work during the day, and we'd have to move kids around in classes, and so we chose the other bid, so that they were done off hours and weekends.
Yeah.
But that's where we are, like, we're having to make those, so it could be that we can arrange to have a certain number done, or a certain building, or a certain, I don't know.
The deal though is that people are really, like our contractors and builders and stuff, they're busy.
Yeah,
So
All the
trying to
schools
get
are looking at the same
Yeah,
stuff.
if they can get the materials, that's the other big
Yeah,
thing. It's
right, yeah.
almost impossible to get
Yeah.
any building
Mhm.
supplies.
Great.
Yeah, everybody's scrambling.
So I have the question.
Okay.
This is from, do you want me to read the name or?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
This is from Becca Brow from Berwick, and she wants to know, I was just going to ask, if we do go to red, will that change the remote plan for 6 to 12 grade? Will they be offered more classes?
The high school has built in that Wednesday for remote day, 4 blocks on that day to address some of those questions that have come up about if they go red, what is Wednesday? It was particular to Wednesday, and what does Wednesday look like?
Yeah.
So they've built in that day it's a pretty hefty day of online communication with staff and their classes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it should make a difference, yep.
she couldn't find a link for, based on when she saw the agenda, she couldn't get the link to work, so she just wanted to know that.
Okay, okay, that's weird, but thank you very much.
Do we know the next day they're gonna come out with our ratings?
Tomorrow,
Is it tomorrow?
yes.
Need a motion, Ashley?
Yeah, I think that's it. Anybody have anything else? Anybody out in
TV
our
alert?
audience out there have anything?
Sheets of plexiglass. Could that be something else to get with the money? I'm still thinking about that.
What was
Plexiglass, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Too, Steph, is there's so much of it is being utilized that,
True.
it's all a back order. So whether it will come in time
Yep.
is the question. But yes, keep thinking.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
All right.
Linda?
I'll second the motion, sorry. I was just replying to her, make sure she heard the
I
answer.
know, but there's only two of us, I can't do it.
Sorry.
Okay, let me go through my list here. Denise is gone, right? Okay, Linda,
Yes.
Thank you.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Rita,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
and me, yes. That would be 7.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks.